another batch of Nigerians on Tuesday.
Court to deliver judgment on EFCC's bid to seize 57 properties linked to Ami.
Oyo government delivers food relief to vulnerable residents.
On the foreign scene, at least 20 people killed in Sri Lanka prison clashes.
Now the news in full. The federal government says another batch of Nigerians is expected to leave South Africa on Tuesday amid the renewed wave of xenophobic attacks. Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Bianca Ojukwu, disclosed this in a statement posted on her official X handle today. The evacuation is the latest in the repatriation exercise by Nigerian authorities as they seek the safety of their citizens in South Africa. Already, 3 batches of Nigerians have returned home since the evacuation began last month. The minister asked Nigerians in South Africa who consider their lives at risk to take advantage of the federal government-sponsored evacuation flights to be transported home. The minister said the last flight for the evacuation is expected to arrive in South Africa on July 10.
A federal high court in Abuja has fixed July the 10th for judgment in the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission's suit seeking the final forfeiture of 57 properties allegedly linked to a former Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice Abubakar Malami. Justice Joyce Abdul Malik, who had fixed today for the ruling after parties adopted their final arguments in May, shifted the judgment to July the 10th. No reason was given for the adjournment. The anti-graft agency is asking the court to permanently forfeit the properties to the federal government, arguing they are suspected proceeds of unlawful activities.
Lawyers under the Nigerian Bar Association in Abeokuta, Shagamu and Ota today commenced a 3-day boycott of court proceedings to protest what they described as unfavorable policies introduced by the State Judiciary, including a 100,000 naira charge for virtual court hearings. Speaking with journalists after monitoring compliance across the magistrates and high courts in Abeokuta, the chairman of the NBA Abeokuta branch, Chief Kayode Aderemi, said the lawyers decided to embark on the boycott after repeated engagements with the judiciary failed to yield results. He said the lawyers were protesting the introduction of a 100,000 naira fee for virtual hearings, the increase in oath administration fees, and restrictions placed on the processing of affidavits. The NBA chairman said the association had done everything reasonably possible to engage the judiciary and explain why the policies should be reviewed, but no positive action had been taken to address their grievances.
Government revenue and fiscal capacity have improved significantly with increased allocations, ensuring that no state government is currently owing workers' salaries. A former president of the Nigeria Economic Society, Professor Adeola Adenikiju, made the observation while assessing the impact of 3 years of fuel subsidy removal on BCOS Television's Current Affairs Breakfast program, AM 120. Our reporter Olamide Wolabi, who monitored the program, has more.
Recall that President Bola Tinubu announced the removal of fuel subsidy on May 29, 2023 during his inauguration. Since then, the policy has brought far-reaching changes to Nigeria's economy and the cost of living for millions of Nigerians. Speaking on the topic 3 years after subsidy removal, economic reform or pain on the AM 120 program, the immediate past president of the Nigerian Economic Society, Professor Adeola Adenikiju, said Nigeria's economy was in a difficult position before the subsidy was removed, as the subsidy regime had placed enormous pressure on government finances, leaving inadequate resources for critical development projects. He explained that the fuel subsidy largely benefited wealthier Nigerians who consumed more petroleum products, making its removal economically necessary. Professor Adenikinju, however, noted that although the president's intention was commendable, the major challenge was the policy's implementation, as adequate preparations were not made before its introduction.
Well, I mean, if we flash back to the years of subsidy, it's very clear that it was a very difficult period, Like Riley said, it was a period characterized by, queues, shortages. It was a time of huge fiscal drain on Nigerian government. There was a time Nigeria was spending on subsidy an amount that is even higher than what government spends on education, spent on health, spent on many other, many infrastructure. And then also because we're losing so much money from subsidy, government had to borrow. So government fiscal deficit rose sharply, and we know that has implications on exchange rates. Smuggling was very rife.
Professor Adenikinju maintained that the rising cost of goods and services cannot be attributed solely to the removal of fuel subsidy, stressing that insecurity and other economic challenges have also contributed significantly to inflation and the high cost of living. On the federal government's compressed natural gas CNG vehicle conversion initiative, it described the program as laudable but said its implementation has been inadequate and only partially executed.
When you are going to remove subsidy, you have to have a plan on how do you target, why do you take care of the poor, okay? You have to, they are trying to do that now, but the coverage, in my view, is limited. It's not transparent, okay? In countries like, in Iran, China, when they were there, they had a register of the poor people. So you can know that these are poor people. How much are they going to lose? You send checks to them. They send money directly to them to be able to mitigate those effects, okay? You have to see how you boost public mass transit system. Public transportation is one of the areas that will be, because a lot of people move through that, goods move through that, and those have implications on food prices eventually. So you must be able to plan ahead, find a way of ensuring that, that kind of supply, that kind of price, high prices from transportation will not occur.
Professor Adenikinju emphasized that economic reforms are often accompanied by short-term hardship and urged the government to implement complementary policies and effective social intervention programs to cushion their impacts on Nigerians, particularly the most vulnerable. Oluyole, BCOS News.
As preparations gradually gather momentum ahead of elections in Nigeria, attention is once again focused on the registration and collection of permanent voters' cards (PVCs), the only valid means of participating in the electoral process. The Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) says it has extended the continuous voter registration exercise by 2 weeks to enable more eligible Nigerians register before the deadline. Our reporter, Folashade Akintola, has details.
The permanent voters card remains the only legal requirement for accreditations and voting in election in Nigeria. To ensure that all eligible citizens have the opportunity to obtain one, the Independent National Electoral Commission conducts continuous voters registration at a designated period. Ahead of the next general elections, 2 phases of the exercise have already been concluded, while the third and final phase is currently underway. Speaking with BCOS News, the head of Voters Education and Publicity INEC Oyo State, Alhaji Tailat Adiagbo, said the third phase of the continuous voters registration exercise, earlier scheduled to end on July 10, has been extended to July 26 following approval by the Commission. He explained that the extension is aimed at giving more eligible Nigerians the opportunity to register while reducing the usual last-minute rush at registration centers. Alhaji Adiagbo disclosed that the Commission has provided 351 registration centers across Oyo State to make the exercise more accessible. He added that the newly self-service registration platform is strictly for first-time registrants, while those unable to complete the online process can visit designated registration centers or INEC office for assistance.
Whereby you don't even need to come down to the INEC office for the registration. You can do everything without even coming down to the INEC office. If there is people that cannot even do it by themselves, they can still come down to the INEC office and all the designated center that we made use during this ongoing CVR exercise. And it's better to let us know that we have 351 registration centers. Let them come out and get registered. Get registered and also collect the permanent voters card. The one we had before the commencement of this exercise. For those that have just registered in the first and second phase, when the cards are ready, INEC will go on here and announce to the public to come and collect it. But the basic thing is that whoever that wanted to collect their PVC, they will collect it at the local government they intended to vote or where they registered.
On PVC collection, the INEC spokesman revealed that 515,254 permanent voters cards from previous election cycle are yet to be collected in Oyo State. He explained that the uncollected cards are available for collection at the respective local government office where voters registered. However, PVC for those who registered during the continual voters registration exercise that commenced August last year are not yet ready.
The number of uncollected cards in Oyo State is 515,254. Since we started this ongoing CVR exercise, which was in August last year, people have started collecting their PVC. I will encourage people to come and collect the PVC because merely registering without PVC, you cannot even vote on the election day. It's a matter of constitution, which is clearly stated in the Electoral Act.
Alhaji Adiagbo emphasized that registration alone does not qualify anyone to vote, stressing that Section 47(1) of the Electoral Act requires every voter to present a valid permanent voter's card before accreditations on election day. He assured that the Commission will continue to keep the public informed through the media on when the newly produced PVC will be ready for collection. With the July 26 deadline fast approaching, INEC is urging all eligible Nigerians who are yet to register to take advantage of the extensions, while those with uncollected PVCs are encouraged to collect them and prepare to participate in future elections. Folashade Akintola, BCOS News.
Troops of Operation Hardin Kai have arrested 12 suspected collaborators and logistics suppliers linked to Boko Haram and the Islamic State West Africa province ISWAP during an intelligence-led operation in Damasak, Borno. This is contained in the military operational report today in Abuja. The army said the operation followed actionable intelligence obtained from the interrogation of an earlier suspect arrested at the Kadori cattle market in Damasak. It said the suspect allegedly identified meeting points and hideouts used by terrorist collaborators, logistics suppliers, and informants operating within the area. The military described the operation as a major breakthrough in ongoing efforts to dismantle terrorist support structures and disrupt logistics networks sustaining insurgent activities.
This broadcast of Newscope comes to you from the Broadcasting Corporation of Oyo State, Ibadan. In continuation of efforts to cushion the effects of economic hardships on vulnerable residents, the Oyo State government, in collaboration with a multinational company, has flagged off the distribution of 30,000 bags of rice across the state. The initiative, which complements the Sustainable Action for Economic Recovery SAFER program, targets persons with disabilities and other vulnerable groups in all 33 local government areas of Oyo State. Speaking at the flag-off ceremony, the Oyo State Governor, Engineer Seyi Makinde, represented by the Secretary to the State Government, Professor Musiba Babatunde, expressed appreciation to the donor company for the intervention. Governor Makinde reaffirmed his administration's commitment to implementing policies and programs that will cushion the effect of inflation, hunger, and economic hardship on residents of the state. Also speaking, the head of operations of the partnering multinational company, Mr. Victor Ejiro, said the donation forms part of the company's annual empowerment initiative aimed at supporting 1 million vulnerable Nigerians. He commended the Oyo State government for its commitment to addressing hunger and improving the welfare of its citizens.
Residents of Ogbomoso North, Ogbomoso South and Orire local government areas today played host to the governorship candidate of the Allied People's Movement APM in Oyo State, Honorable Bimbo Adekombi, who was on a familiarization and thank you visit to the area. Leaders of the APM and PDP alliance, among other party faithful, witnessed the event held at Ogunlola Town Hall, Ojagbu, Ogbomoso. Honorable Adekombi, who was accompanied by his running mate, Engineer Muftau Opunsalau, APM State Chairman Otumba Fagbemi Adegbinro, PDP APM Alliance Chairman Chief Dayo Ogungbinro, and all other party stakeholders were welcomed to the venue by different groups of drummers and entertainers. While presenting the APM governorship candidate, Honorable Adekombi, and his deputy, Engineer Opun Salau, to the party stakeholders and faithful, APM Chairman Otumba Adegbinro and PDP Alliance Chairman Chief Ogungbinro praised the Oyo State Governor, Engineer Seyi Makinde, over his leadership style in running the affairs of the state and the party in particular. Addressing the stakeholders, Honorable Bimbo Adekombi appreciated Governor Makinde for restructuring the party and for the success of the alliance process. He called for support of all party members in the bid to the victorious candidate, saying it will run an all-inclusive government. The APM governorship candidate used the gesture to observe a minute's silence for victims of the 15th of May attack in Orire local government area, praying to God for the release of all abducted victims. In his remarks, the APM deputy governorship candidate, Engineer Muftau Opunsalau, said his nomination was a great privilege for people of Ogbomoso, adding that they are expected to work together towards victory of the party.
The Kano State Police Command has impounded 72 vehicles for violating number plate regulations under a new enforcement drive tagged Operation Clean Plates. The Commissioner of Police in Kano, Ibrahim Bakori, disclosed this today during a press briefing at the Motor Traffic Division office on Buck Road, Kano. Bakori said the operation targets vehicles with covered, defaced or missing number plates, which he described as a growing security threat across the state. He added that the command had earlier carried out extensive public sensitization through radio, television and social media before launching the operation. According to the police boss, the operation is ongoing across all 44 local government areas of Kano State.
On the foreign scene, at least 20 people have been killed and more than 100 were wounded in clashes at a prison in Sri Lanka. Foreign Desk Editor Folashade Akintola compiled the story and others, now presented by Khadija Lawal.
Violence broke out at the prison in Negombo, about 35 kilometers north of the capital Colombo, on Sunday and continued today, according to local media reports and police. Footage from the press showed a heavy police presence outside the gate of the prison as the police bus carrying the injured inmates, some of them sprawled on its floor, left the premises. A hospital source told the press that at least 16 inmates and 4 prison guards were killed in the violence. Pushpa Gamlat, director of the Negombo Hospital, said the facility had received 23 bodies and more than 100 wounded inmates and guards had also been admitted to hospital, the press reported. Police spokesman Chandana Erat confirmed the clashes in the prison and that there were deaths without providing further details. The reason for the clashes was not immediately clear. Meanwhile, a super typhoon has made landfall on United States territorial islands in the Western Pacific near Guam, with authorities saying they have received reports of significant damage as powerful winds and torrential rain hit the Northern Mariana Islands. The eye of Super Typhoon Bavi passed over the islands of Rota this morning local time, bringing winds of more than 150 miles per hour, equivalent to a Category 5 hurricane, according to the U.S. National Weather Service. It was traveling at about 9 miles per hour west towards the Philippines, the NWS said.
When the storm first hit, the NWS urged Reuters residents on social media to treat these imminent extreme winds as if a tornado was approaching and move immediately to an interior room or shelter immediately. The storm affected other parts of the Northern Mariana Islands and Guam, both U.S. territories. The area is still recovering from Super Typhoon Sinlaku, which struck in mid-April. The Northern Marianas and Guam are collectively home to about 210,000 people. And lastly, China has test-fired a missile from a nuclear submarine that landed in designated waters in the Pacific Ocean. State news agency Xinhua reported, drawing criticism and concerns from Japan, Australia and New Zealand. The Chinese Navy test-launched the long-range ballistic missile at 12:01 p.m. today from one of its nuclear-powered submarines in the South Pacific, Xinhua reported. Xinhua said the test was a routine arrangement of China's annual military training and was not directed at any specific target. Australian Foreign Minister Penny Wong confirmed that China had notified the government of plans to conduct a sea-based missile test into the Pacific, but said the action was destabilizing to the region. Japan's government said it was notified of the missile launch and had urged China to reconsider. The New Zealand government said it was informed of the planned launch within hours of its taking place. Khadija Lawal, BCS News.
To end this edition of Newscope, here again are the main points. The federal government says another batch of Nigerians is expected to leave South Africa on Tuesday amid the renewed wave of xenophobic attacks.
A federal high court in Abuja has fixed July the 10th for judgment in the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission's suit seeking the final forfeiture of 57 properties allegedly linked to former Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami.
In continuation of efforts to cushion the effects of economic hardship on vulnerable residents, the Oyo State government, in collaboration with a multinational company, has flagged off the distribution of 30,000 bags of rice across the state.
On the foreign scene, at least 20 people have been killed and more than 100 were wounded in clashes at a prison in Sri Lanka.
Well, if you see something suspicious, alert the authorities immediately for timely response. Be vigilant. And that's all from Newscope Desk for now. It was packaged by Taiwo Adeyemi and delivered by Oluyole Olatubosun and
Idowu Shekoni. Thanks for listening, and do not forget to tune in for the Yoruba version at 8 p.m. Good evening.
Oluyole 98.5 FM.
I am malaria, the king of malaria parasites. My mission is simple: to take over your body, to cause fever, chills, headache. But one thing stands in my way. Come on.
Effective relief from malaria. Comal on. Malaria gone. If symptoms persist after 3 days, consult doctor.
Good tasty food is worth living for. Worried about your oil every time you enjoy your favorite meal? Introducing Golden Terra Smart Balance Oil. Smart Balance Rice Bran Oil is rich in gamma oryzanol. Several studies suggest that gamma oryzanol may contribute to the reduction of bad cholesterol. Golden Terra Smart Balance Oil. Good food, no worries.
Golden Terra Oil ó máa ń ran ìyá lọ́wọ́ láti dá gbogbo ìfẹ́ rẹ̀ sínú oúnjẹ tó dùn ó ṣara lóore tó ṣe fún gbogbo ẹbí rẹ̀. Golden Terra Oil, pour pure love.
lè mú oúnjẹ wá sọ́kùtù wọ̀wọ̀. Àwọn oúnjẹ